independence was not complete until the economy was in the hands of Africans. Jaramogi envisioned a Kenya that was unapologetic about its Kenyanness. Kenya that would stand on its own feet in a world unfriendly to the African people. And a Kenya that is capable of enterprise and development in fields beyond our shams. Then there was one of the other founding fathers who echoed the dream. In his book, Freedom and After, he reminds us that great things are made of a series of small things. And that the making of nations is the work of many small events and having been involved in the Lancaster Constitution-making process in the 1960s, Boyer cautioned the nation against Constitution every time one Kenyatta made other assertions in his prison notes published, a book entitled Without Bitterness. While in prison, Hussein said that if hope will sustain you through fire, faith is greater because it enables imagining and building. Therefore, and faith, according to him, is the act of letting God know your intentions, but taking charge of the methods necessary to achieve them. Fellow Kenyans, our founders us with deep as we reimagine our nation today. We have achieved the dreams of the founding number 10. Number 1 of 1986. Further, I believe we have made admirable progress in the implementation of our own Vision 2030. But truth be told, that this vision comes to an end in 9 years. A new dream, like Kenya, in its to hit the reset button every 50 years. On the 50th year, we are told, all debts were forgiven and all land was left, and a fresh vision to its people. And they call it the year. Fellow Kenyans, to craft this forward, to finish what our founding fathers had started. And this is what we set out to do in our quest. This inspired my administration. Allow me just to give you only 3 examples. Unfinished business start endeavoring to complete. The first one is infrastructure, the backbone of any economy. I mean roads. Independence, we had only one our colonizers had built in 78 years of their occupation between 1885 and 1963. This means that all their endeavors for 78 years, they only managed to tarmac a total of 23 kilometers a year. fathers built an extra 11,200. This was about 10 times what the colonizer had done. But with technology, 1,000 kilometers of tarmac road every year. That is 44 times more than what the colonial administration built, and more than 4 times what the first 3 administrations built collectively per year. While we take pride in this achievement, I am cognizant of the fact that this could not have been done without the support of you, all my fellow Kenyans, and still recognize that there are more roads to be built. Regarding ports, our founding fathers saw them as gateways to regional and international markets. Apart from the port of Lamu, which we have added to our number of ports and which will change regional trade dynamics, serves both the northern and southern corridors. And with this port, Kenya can serve the region from Mwanza to Bukoba in Tanzania, to Jinja and Entebbe in Uganda, to Homa Bay in Rwanda at affordable costs and decent timing. Beyond serving the region, the port is poised to also promote the shipbuilding and repair industry in Kenya. It will also catalyze the development of other small ports. And what I'm proud of most is that we did this revival with dead capital. And in this I mean, we redeveloped this port using local expertise and material. Turning to railways now. This is where my biggest critiques reside. But that is okay, for they are not alone. They are in fellowship with the colonizers who called our railway the Lunatic Express. But those who called it the railway to nowhere did not realize at that time that they were describing this great city of Nairobi. Nairobi indeed at the time was nowhere when the railway was being constructed. In fact, it was nothing but a swamp. And that is why Sir Charles Elliot, the man who supervised the building of the railway, observed, it is not uncommon for a country to create a railway, but it is indeed uncommon for a railway to create a country. End of quote. Nairobi and indeed most of our country were created by the railway. And that is why, apart from the SGR, I am also reviving the defunct Nairobi-Nyuki railway line that traverses 6 counties. We are also in the process of rehabilitation of the Naivasha to Malaba meter gauge line, which is also about to commence. This rehabilitation of these central railway lines is part of a bigger development strategy to link the hinterlands, not only of Kenya, but of our region, with Lamu Port, our port in Mombasa. And that is why the Southern Sudan-Ethiopia transport corridor continues to remain important. I believe that when this happens, then Kenyans can expect new markets to emerge along these railway lines and new cities to blossom in response. The second example of unfinished business from our founding fathers regards the dignity of our people. The freedom struggle was about liberating Kenyans from the poverty of dignity, amongst other freedoms. 3, to fight what the founding fathers called ignorance. My administration has carried out extensive reforms in the education sector to make it more competency-based and to allow our children to be better prepared for future jobs. We have secured a place of pride in the continent as the home to the highest transition from primary to secondary education on the African continent. Additionally, the technical and vocational training is taking root as we seek to reposition our human resource for the ever-evolving world economy. But the human side of these reforms has also focused on electrification. We have connected 99% of all our schools to electricity. And as we did this, we also realized that a substantial part of learning happens at home, even in better days. That is why we were motivated to do our last mile program, connecting homes to power. For the record, it is indeed worth noting, fellow Kenyans, that after 78 years of colonial rule and 50 years of independent administration, only a total of 4.5 million households in Kenya were connected to electricity. But from 2013, and in only 7 years, we have connected close to 3.5 million households, bringing the number of households connected to electricity close to 8 million. This means that we have done 15 times more than the previous administrations to connect our people to electricity. We take pride in this, not because we are better, but because we have to finish the business of our founding fathers in order to envision a new dream. And we take cognizance that we too shall not finish, but we shall also leave a foundation for future leaders to continue. If electricity and education reforms are supported to fight ignorance, our efforts to fighting disease are in the universal healthcare program. Our healthcare reforms are far beyond what our forefathers expected. We have not only dispatched sophisticated machinery to hospitals across the country's counties in order to localize treatment, and indeed working together with county governments across the country, we have sought to improve our health facilities. But we have also made this treatment much more affordable through NHIF, and with upcoming reforms, we expect this to expand even more. We have done this because poor health has a way of indignifying people. But with treatment close by and costs reduced, a patient does not have to sell their property in search of good health. If this was a dream of our founding fathers, then it is our obligation to achieve it. The coronavirus pandemic has highlighted the urgency on this endeavor. And once again, I wish to give my thanks and indeed praise to our county governments, with whom we have worked hand in hand in this endeavor. My third example is about land. A critical motivation for waging the war of liberation against the colonial rule was land. Regaining our land from the colonial masters and laying a personal claim to it was a motivation for the struggle. And that is why the title deed became a sacred emblem to many Kenyans. It is a token earned from a struggle of sorts. After 50 years of independence, 6 million title deeds, I assumed the presidency of our nation. This was a motif of our faith in the struggle. In the 7 years of my administration, we have managed under my administration. These are the dream of our forefathers. Fellow done. Our focus is on what remains to be done. Of my achievements, I was not telling you what we have done. I was telling you why we did the Kenyan dream. I now want to shift to two things that I believe remain to be done in order to reimagine our new Kenya. The first thing goes, and this collection of speeches that were published under 50 years ago, Boya Kenyans against constitutional. He told us that a constitution is not an end in itself. It is a means to. And if certain elements of the constitution outlive their historical moved, or they will infect, move section 2A had been added to the in 1991. Into a political cancer. Then after the 2000 Reconciliation Act into our Constitution to expand the executive arm of government. This happened of historic, created and adopted a new Constitution. Indeed, today, I am truly thankful to the Almighty God for having given its implementation, but also to serve as the first president. 10 years later, I am already discerning a constitutional moment, and I want to be not a moment that will right didn't get correct in 2010. Democratic credentials as a country and lead to a much more inclusive society, which I do believe was the intention of the framers of the 2010 Constitution. Fellow Kenyans, we cannot reimagine our nationhood also without changing our political architecture. But we cannot change this architecture without re-engineering our Constitution. If we have done great things in the area of brick and mortar, the greater things that remain to be done have to do with our governance system, and we must not be afraid of changing the system if it does not serve our present and future purposes. The second culture. Culture is at the core of reimagining a national dream. And when the drafters of Chapter 6 of our Constitution put pen to paper, what they wanted was to bring this culture to order. But it is difficult to police a political culture. More so, if the culture is like one that was described by Canon Donaldson of Westminster Abbey. Canon Donaldson, on March 20th, 1925, spoke of a culture that thrives in politics without principle, wealth without work, pleasure without conscience, knowledge without morality, science without humanity, and worship without sacrifice. And part of this sermon speaks to our reality today as Kenyans. If we are to push the reset button and reimagine our dreams as a nation, we must transform our civic culture to one that is based and biased towards duty, hard work, and integrity. Fellow countrymen, we need political leaders totally committed to promoting not themselves, but what will transform lives of our people in line with what our founding fathers yearned for. Indeed, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, "We need political leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity." End of quote. Finally, fellow Kenyans, I want to address in brief, our national response to the coronavirus pandemic, because I will be addressing you again on this issue in a few days. As a caring, responsive government, and to cushion all Kenyan households against the economic shocks triggered by the coronavirus disease, we continue to progressively roll out targeted measures. We have reduced taxes to enhance affordability of all products by reducing VAT from 16% to 14% and increase the earnings and purchase power of all employees by reducing pay as you earn. But we have also incentivized business to retain staff and operations by reducing corporation tax. Last Saturday, I also announced an 8-point economic stimulus program that will see additionally us sending a further Kenyan shillings 53.7 billion to Kenyan households. Indeed, I have noted with concern lockdowns. We have many of our workers now who are seemingly being laid off as a result of there being no business in all our tourism or hospitality facilities. And in order to cushion these workers and to work in line with this sector, my administration will focus on an intervention by offering an initial 2 billion shillings from the exchequer to support hotels and all related establishments and to ensure that they are able to maintain their staff complement. And our cabinet subcommittee will be meeting to engage with stakeholders to develop the protocols for this. Fellow Kenyans, we need not be persuaded as a people why we must do everything in our power to conquer this invisible disease, this invisible enemy. But to do so and regain the ground we have lost, we need to come together as a nation. Each of us is called to become a shujaa against this disease. The containment measures and protocols issued by the government, while absolutely necessary, we also recognize have constrained our freedoms and indeed, as the Deputy President said, changed our way of life completely. I appreciate the anxiety that is weighing heavily on the minds of parents and children, particularly all calendar. Should also include in order to guarantee not only the safety of the God-fearing, the Ministry of Health, will you more participate of worshippers? To recognize they are all in support of our response to this pandemic. I also want to recognize our region that designed and built is also indebted to manning checkpoints, our artists who raised awareness of the virus through their music and artwork. But we from Dr. James Mwangi and his family. We are who have donated foodstuffs, tutataja hapo baadaye, haswa kuhusu ile mikakati tutachukua siku zijazo kuhusu hii ugonjwa wa corona. Yangu ni kuwauliza wenzangu, tuendelee kuhakikisha ya kwamba tumetii zile masharti tumepata. Uko nasi na ni jukumu la kila Mkenya kuhakikisha ametenda kile awezalo yeye kibinafsi, kisha ya kwamba pamoja tumeshinda na tumeondoa ugonjwa kati yetu. Nawatakia kila la heri. Nasema Mungu awabariki, Mungu aibariki taifa letu la Kenya, Mungu aendelee kutupatia umoja na Mungu ailinde taifa. Asanteni.
Rais, mwadia hivi sasa wakati wa tamasha za macheo ya uhusisha salama. Mheshimiwa Rais, Mass Band.